Let's talk about your due diligence process. I have $200,000 that I've scraped very hard to earn, Sean. Why should I wire you $150,000? What are you doing to mitigate risk? How do I know this is a good deal and you're not just trying to just get my money?
Well, case in point is the experience on the team. We're partnering with the most experienced developer in San Diego for the coastal region, period. Just about every new build that's in Pacific Beach or Ocean Beach, they've built. Half of the money in the deal, over $1.5 million, is provided by the sponsors. There's skin in the game, tons of skin in the game.
Love skin in the game.
This is the people that are building it with us are also going to manage it. They bought it, they're building it, they're managing it, we're partnering with them. You've got people that are in this deal that have been in real estate since 1975, building around here. And then obviously the metrics of the deal, I think, speak for themselves. I think what I've talked about, the scarcity and uniqueness, it's really a once in a lifetime, truly, opportunity to own something like that. I mean, something like that hasn't been built over there in 50 years.
Yeah, so again, about the beach, you guys, and about San Diego specifically, there's not a lot of people in general selling. There are some places like Coronado, like Pacific Beach, certain areas where just no one sells.
Yeah.
They just buy this real estate La Jolla and they just keep it forever. And some of the stuff's trading in the twos on a cap, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible. So I agree with what Sean's saying. And Sean, he really does eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. He gets excited about deals. He's really into the culture by the beach. He's studying this stuff. He knows what inventory is coming to market, you guys. So, you know, it is true. Once the deal's gone, it's gone. And if they're only building so much, because of an additional amount of barriers to entry, there are more sort of risks that have to get mitigated, and it weeds out people who have not walked through that experience level. You have, and you also partner with architects, other people that are on your team, contractors who know that market in that game.
Exactly. When it comes to due diligence, if you're an investor, if we're talking about investor due diligence, at the end of the day, it's, I think, who's making up the team, who's doing what. And if you've got an enormous track record of experience, that alone is going to eliminate a lot of the risk. And then when we're talking about risk and doing due diligence, a project like the one we're about to get started on, the permitting's done. That's the risky part.
Sure.
That's the part that who knows how long it's going to take. You know, the next part is the construction phase, which always carries its own risk. You know, you could run into a really rainy season in the winter, and that adds 3 months to the timeline because you can't pour concrete.
Got a story about that. I'll tell you offline.
Yeah,
and actually, I was on the winning side of that, but yeah, that could be detrimental. But, you know, we're in San Diego, so you just roll the dice on that one, I think.
Yeah, and generally speaking, it's not going to screw you over that much if you get a rainy January, February. But at the end of the day, when it comes to development is riskier because of the permitting and entitlements process. If that's done with and you're about to build it, I consider that the least risky thing you could do in Southern California, because you're not buying an old property, you're just about to build this bad boy, and you're going to lease it up, and you're going to start cash flowing. But when it comes to due diligence, I mean, if you're on the GP side, I could sit here and talk for an hour on that due diligence, because, like, dude,
give me your top, let's just say 5 thesis points. These are the 5 things that I'm looking at first, and why. Because I want to say no as an investor, as a GP, as an operator. Deep down, I know I have to do the job. I want to do the job. I make money by doing real estate. I make money by investing, and I love it. But I'm looking at it from a bank standpoint, which is half glass empty. There's way more deals out there because of the relationships that we have than deals that should be bought, especially bought by me. So I'm looking at it half glass. I'm saying no first. No. Maybe. No. Maybe. No. As you said, 100 deals, 5 maybes, 1 yes. Sometimes you have to go to 150. Sometimes you have to go to 200 to say yes. Give me your top 5 reasons why you're saying no.
Top 5 reasons. Number 1, without a doubt, is, you know, this is going to depend if I'm looking at a value-add deal or a brand new one. But if you're looking for a project, like you're buying a house, you're buying a 4-unit multifamily, whatever it is, I look at the age of the plumbing, because I've been screwed by that. And so what I do is, when I'm doing my due diligence and paying an inspector, I want every single pipe that he can scope with the camera. I want him to do it. I'll pay extra. Look at everything, because I've owned apartment complexes where the clay piping that is the main drainage for one of the buildings, and it runs underneath the parking lot, had collapsed and was backing up into that building. We had to jackhammer up the parking lot, a line all the way through it, and get all the way down into that pipe and replace the whole pipe. And
Oh,
that cost
yeah, man.
$20,000 that I was not expecting.
Plumbers, bro.
Yeah, I've had...
Straight face. And A license guys are even worse. Shout out to all you A's out there. But yeah, dude, once you open that ground up, brother.
Yeah, if it's got cast iron piping, that's a big no for me. Unless I'm getting a huge discount. Because cast iron piping over time, the inside of it gets more and more corroded, which allows less and less water to get through, and it's just a pain in the butt, dude. I hate cast iron piping. So those are big no's for me. I look at the plumbing if it's existing. Second thing I look at if I'm buying like a project where I'm going to do infill development or something like that is what was there before. Because if this was a rental before and it's a rundown rental, if I'm going to tear that building down, then that's a replacement of a protected dwelling unit if somebody low income was renting it before. And here in San Diego, that means like if it's a 3-bedroom house, that means my new building has to have a 3-bedroom unit that's rent restricted for 55 years. So depending on the numbers, that could kill the deal. If there was a old car dealership, or not car dealership, but car repair shop that existed before, the soil could be bad, have a bunch of oil in it. So where we have to then...
Soil reports are not cheap, by the way.
So, paying soil engineers to look at all of that and drill down 20 feet, depending on if you're doing subterranean parking. There's a lot of things. If there was a gas station that was there before, I know too many horror stories of people that ended up starting to dig and they find these old gas, we call it, cylinders that would hold the gas because a gas station used to be there, and it's super expensive to get that out. So I'm looking at what was there before, what's existing. If I'm doing value add, looking at the plumbing. If I'm doing value add, the next thing I look for is all the major components. What are their remaining useful life? So if I'm buying another 32-unit apartment complex, what I did was I just did a general inspection. They looked at everything. Everything's working. But what I didn't know is a lot of these HVACs were at the end of their useful life. And like the first summer that I owned that 32 unit, on average, we were losing 2 HVACs a month. Just, they were dying, and I had to replace them. And each one was over $4,000 a pop.
Oh, yeah.
So
the bottom line's loving that.
Yeah, so if I'm buying a place that's old and however many units it is...
That's a joke. Bottom line is not loving that.
No. So, I'm telling the inspector, I was like, hey, I want, here's a matrix that I've created. Each one of these HVACs, let me know if you can see the age and how much remaining useful life it's in. What's its condition? Has it been maintained properly? Because if it's not, I'm going to have to account for replacing that thing in the next couple of years.
Replacement cost. I love it. Okay, so that's 3. Give me 2 more.
So what's the other 2 big ones I'm looking for? Well, really, the other 2 that I'm going to look for is, and this again is going to play into, if it's an older property, are the financials and what I'm jumping into. So typically, if you're buying something owned by a mom and pop and it's existing multifamily, most of these are going to apply to existing multifamily, because if I'm tearing it down, there's fewer things that I care about, and it really just comes down to where it's at, what I can put on it, right? Yep. But if you're looking at existing stuff, a lot of these mom and pop owners have horrible financials, and they'll show you a T12 and you say, hey, can I see the bank account that this is in? Which is typical due diligence. I need to see these bank statements to make sure.
Well, some of these guys pay in cash.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, I sell rice, and some of these guys buy the rice, or they buy cauliflower out of the back of my van, and we sort of trade, and it's like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
How am I going to verify that you're actually getting this money that you say you're getting?
Exactly. So, a lot of times if I'm dealing with a mom and pop owner and they're like, oh, well, that just goes to my checking account, I don't want to show you that. I've ran into that before. Or I'm not comfortable showing you that, even, if I, black line through the, account number and stuff like that. They just won't show you financials. So that I approach with extreme caution, because now I've got to underwrite it much more conservatively. So they're going to have to give me a discount, and I got to make sure the lender's okay with that. Because you got to remember, if you're buying a 30-unit multifamily, the lender's going to say, okay, let me see the bank statements. Let me verify the income that's coming in on this.
Traditional DD.
Yeah, traditional DD. So those things are and I guess the 5th thing, let me see if I can think of a 5th thing real quick.
Hard no. See this thing, Sean, you're like, pass.
Hard no. Here in San Diego, let me try and think of one for that. Here in San Diego, really this applies to anything. A hard no for me is the eye test on the neighborhood. And the reason for that is people there's an old mantra with multifamily, start with the outside in. The curb appeal of your place is really where you should start with traditional knowledge when you're renovating. Because you could renovate the interior, people pull up and they go, I don't want to live here, and they don't even finish their tour. And I learned that the hard way with my 32 unit. So I do the eye test on that place in the neighborhood because you can't change the neighborhood. You can fix up this place all you want, but if people are driving down the road and there's like chain link fences, old chain link fences in the front yard with like people's crap all piled up in the front yard, there's only so much you can do to that property.
We love markets like that, just for the record.
So
If
like,
you have a deal in those markets, send them to us.
so it depends. For us, that's going to be a hard no because I want to invest in areas that are well-kept neighborhoods, good locations that are going to get a high dollar for rents when I fix it up.
So Sean and his team at Takeoff Capital, they are looking for a properties.
Yes.
They want a properties. And that's what you're building. That's where you're looking for. That's where you're at.
Correct.
I will take a B and a C and an A. 100%. Because our system speaks, again, it's this market specifically. I don't know if I'm in Houston. I'm thinking like that. But I'm in San Diego. I honestly don't think the difference, and this is my opinion, Sean.
Yeah.
You know, this is where we sort of don't have the same opinion. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think the difference between A and C plus is that big of a delta in San Diego. And I also know that these C's are coming up because, as you mentioned, there's a scarcity on these A's.
Yeah.
Where are people going to live?
Yeah.
And as prices continue to go up, these C's over time are going up, and you think history is the best case of that. You mentioned North Park. When I was growing up, and we've talked about this many times, when I was 15, North Park was a poop hole, dude.
Yeah, it was rough. I've
You look
heard.
how much money's going into Logan Heights.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money. You talk about other areas like South Park. You could talk about Golden Hill.
Oh yeah, I love Golden Hill too.
There's a tremendous amount of money and resources going into these markets. Now it's getting over to Chola's dude in Canto. And again, you would probably never step foot in these markets. I love them.
Yeah, and exactly. That's not to say, you know, my opinion isn't to say that those strategies don't work there. And I've just learned over time, it's crazy, dude. Like, we used to have a huge buy box, and then over time, it's gotten smaller and smaller and more focused
Same.
and more niche and
Same.
more and more and more.
But
That-
for us, it's not only the market, because we look at San Diego broad,
Right.
And there is the bonus programs,
Right.
Micro density. There's all these, more than just ADU bonus programs, guys. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, we're looking for specific zoning, base and overlay, right?
Mhm.
But again, it doesn't matter where I'm buying in San Diego. Broad stroking it, I have to be getting the right number when at my entry, dude.
100%.
That's it. So I will buy a property in Mount Helix. I'll buy a property in La Jolla. I'll buy a property by the beach. I'll buy a property in Logan Heights. If the number's right in San Diego, I'm just telling you as a general rule.
Yeah, dude.
We just picked up one yesterday in Ramona, dude. $500,000 off market.
Hell yeah.
It's going to cost us 50 grand to rehab it. We're just going to flip it.
Okay.
50 to 75K, $500,000 in, 850 all day, bro. I'm going to take $150,000 on the flip
I love it.
as many times as I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it depends on your strategy. Are you doing flips? Are you doing, buy and hold? Are you doing an Airbnb? Like, all of that plays into where you're going to be focusing,
Yeah.
what your niche is.
So I'll take a flip. It's not what we're focused on, but sometimes you just, you don't want the property, but it falls in your lap. So
Yeah.
you just take it, rehab it. You have the team to do it. You flip the property. Our general MO, Sean, is we want to be holding real estate in San Diego long term.
Yes.
And we also obviously have B2C. So we work with guys like you who are also investors. We work with people who are new to the market, maybe e-commerce guys new into real estate that have money. Mom owns a property. They heard about the laws they want to build. We're JVing with guys like that. We're serving them as far as being a developer for them, walking them through, getting the permit. And then we're doing it for ourselves. We're also doing it for Tom and Sally homeowner who just want to build an ADU for grandma or for their kids or something. So that's really our approach.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different niche compared to what Mike and I are focused on. And I think that just goes to show that there's a lot of strategies that work. And if you hyper focus on one, I truly believe that that's the way to go. You're going to grow faster. You'll make more connections. You'll be known as the guys that do this. And we want to be known as the guys that develop west of the 5, near the coastline, in pristine beach, close to the beach properties that are providing, brand new rental units for people that are high income earners that want to live by the beach, but they don't have enough options.
Guys, Takeoff Capital taking over the new build, new construction development market west of the 5. Reach out to these guys. They are on. Let's move to the last segment, Sean, called Skip the Lines. These are Skip the Line Hacks. Name of the podcast is Skip the Lines. Tell me some hacks, man. You're waiting in line. You had to wait in line to figure this one thing out. How can someone save a little time in their life learning from a guy like you who actually did that work and help them get their career a little bit, accelerate their career a bit?
I think you do want to accelerate your career as quickly as humanly possible. I think the biggest advice I could give to you is to constantly be out of the house, being around other real estate investors. So that's going to as many meetups as you possibly can, finding the people that are clearly doing really well with certain strategies and getting as much time around them as you can. The best way to do that is by providing value to them. So if you're trying to stick the line and get ahead as fast as humanly possible, find these people, and let's say they're, a multifamily investor that's doing infill development like me, and they're just looking for more lots that make sense in our buy box.
Deal flow.
Yeah, deal flow. That you could say, hey man, yeah, thanks for giving me your buy box. You go home with that, start looking for deals for them. And if you can then bring them a deal that actually makes sense, you go, hey man, you told me you were looking for this, and this. How does this property look for you? I found this and felt like it fit in your buy box. Or whatever it is, you start doing things like that and people will notice. And then they're going to want to help you and provide some and reciprocate that value. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And I think it's the best way to get ahead. Because then all of a sudden you never know what happens. Like from that, somebody could say, yeah, man, well, hey, you want to partner on this deal since you brought it? Like I could give you this little percent of the GP if you could bring in just a couple investors, or if you want to do this or that. I think it really comes down to just being around these people as much as possible, because this can also open doors for new investors. This can open the door for getting a mentor. Every box that you could check off, you should be doing. So when we first got started, we were like, dude, let's start a podcast. We started that podcast almost 5 years ago. Let's start a podcast. Let's start our own meetup. Let's go to as many meetups as we can. Let's go to these conferences. Let's do everything that we can to be around these people and learn.
Own your job. Couple points here that Sean's making. Number one, TTP, talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
Show up, go to meetups, meetup.com. Start looking at where meetups are happening. Start going. Conferences. Lead with value, okay? Lead with giving. I want something from this person because they have something of value, which is knowledge, information, skill, investors. They've done this thing before. They are further along in their career. I want to learn what they know. How do I get myself in a position for them to want to share with me?
Yeah.
Because I'm just some kid off the street at this meetup that they're just meeting, and they talk to people all day. They're in real estate. Well, find out what they want and work your butt off to provide it. And then the law of reciprocity kicks in, as Sean articulated. When I met Sean, I was picking his brain. He was hitting me up for some information. I think, candidly, I was asking him more questions than he was asking me. And then he came across the street to a meetup that we had. And again, I started picking his brain. But then now I'm like, hey, Sean, I want you on the pod. And then so he started to get some reciprocity back. But we are building a relationship over time. I think Sean already knows I'm going to scratch his back. Now, after having this conversation, I have a better understanding of what he's actually looking for. And to his point, I get a lot of deal flow. I'm getting more deal flow. I can start kicking him down deals. I can start kicking down some investors as my investor list continues to grow. Hey, I got a guy that's a 1031 coming up. He's got $500,000 that he has to place in 2 months. Do you have something for him?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way this game works. Thank you. One more skip the line hack, Sean.
One more skip the line hack. Let's see. Come up with a second one. I'm going to go with, just to get ahead as quickly as possible. I'm going to say something that's a little bit off that might be different than what you're expecting, because I think people forget this, and a lot of investors that I run across don't really follow this. And that's keeping, like, if you want to scrunch down the time, right? We're talking about sticking the line. If you're going to scrunch down the time that it takes for you to reach financial freedom, there's 2 things you've got to focus on. Number 1, busting ass. The more you bust ass, and the more that you're working towards this goal, the more you're going to these meetups, the more you're trying to get a guest on, be a guest on podcast, or start your own podcast, the more you're hustling on this, the sooner you can reach your goals. So people might, be against hustle culture or working on weekends or whatever. But the truth is if you can do all of that,
you can follow Hermosi.
Yes.
Me too.
If you are willing to make sacrifices now, then you'll scrunch down that timeline. And think about the same thing with your personal finances. Like, I still track my finances. I still live as far below my means as I possibly can, and I just invest the difference like crazy.
Well, it only costs like, $30 to get into a national park, bro. So you're out there in the wilderness for
Yes.
That's a cheap week, dude.
Dude,
That's
just
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a high return, low dollar amount way to spend a week.
It is. It's cheap out, and then I mean, you're buying some freeze dried food and boiling water and pouring it in there to like cook dinner. So like,
Can't hunt out there though, right?
no, you actually don't do that. That's a
Gets
bad
the
idea.
law,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could. I think you actually get locked up for quite a while if you do that.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Do not hunt in national parks.
They don't,
Also, you can't fly drones. I learned that one the hard way.
yeah, they don't like that either.
There's a culture in national parks.
Yeah, dude.
I'll tell you a story when I took the kids. We did 5 and during COVID for a couple weeks. I drove 4,000 miles in 2 weeks. We did Rocky Mountain National Park, Yellowstone, Glacier National Park.
Man.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right, so bust ass, get up and get after it. I talk about that all the time. You're never going to regret hard work, you guys. And look, you can fake it till you make it, but hard work will speak. 100% people can feel it, they know it, and most importantly, you know it. And at the end of the day, results matter. We're in a results-driven business. The more work you're putting in, the better your results are going to be over time.
I agree. Dude, I think that's the best advice I could give is that you're going to have to put in the time. And always remember, too, some of these hints that I gave you guys about going to all of these events, spending your time out and about amongst other real estate investors. Keep in mind that you're going to strike out a lot, or like there won't be results.
Your
a lot.
bullshit meter will get better over time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to so many like business events, for example, where I didn't really meet people that I felt like I could provide a lot of value to, or they could provide me a lot of value to, and I just kept going and going. And then one day, I met Mike Turk and Katie Development, and now I'm doing a project with them.
Love it.
You just keep going and getting the reps in, and everything else will come. And it takes time. It sucks because I want to get rich quick too.
Yep.
But dude, it's gonna take years. Keep
We're
that.
not
in
going to
mind.
get rich quick. We're going to get rich for sure playing this real estate game.
Yes, sir.
Sean D. Martel. I am going to, one more time, post all of his information in the description. Takeoff Capital. He's here in San Diego. They are taking over the market near the beach, you guys. He has a new project coming he's putting out in the next month. Reach out to him. Join his investor list. The guy's awesome. He's here. He's at meetups. These Deals and Drinks are meetup. He does go out and chop it up with like-minded individuals.